Hey there, this is Anthony Pacheco at Griffon Games, and in this video I'm going to gush about how dang good Pathfinder is for a role-playing game campaign. In the next video I'll gush about the awesome sauce of D&D 5e, but this video is Pathfinder awesome sauce specific. So why do Christoph and I love Pathfinder so much? I'll break this up into three parts. Adventure paths, the dance, and what I call the GMG, or GM math goodness. We're both enamored with the adventure path concept that started with TSR's old super modules, specifically T1 through 4 as the Temple of Elemental Evil. In the late 80s I ran a group through the Queen of Spiders adventure path and my characters all had a blast. What an epic campaign. There were only two characters alive after Loth personally blasted the rest of the party into oblivion, a paladin and a wizard, and through some shenanigans on their part and two bad rolls on my part they killed Loth on her home plane. That was epic, and it was truly an accomplishment playing what would later be called an adventure path, which is why I'm talking about old TSR first before Paizo. Because Christoph and I love adventure paths. This love started way back in the 80s. Well, for me anyway. I'm not too sure how old Christoph was back in the 80s, which is kind of aging myself. But I digress. Enter Paizo. The first adventure path I played as a player and not a DM was Curse of the Crimson Throne. And holy crap, people. Curse of the Crimson Throne was amazing. It was gritty, it was dark, it had politics, it had Nephorus plague doctors and raven masks. The city as presented felt alive and dynamic. Now Christoph as the GM went off the rails in a lot of places. The biggest was Corvosa was in Ravenloft just to make things extra crunchy. Christoph is an evil man, by the way. Not too sure I've forgiven for him that one yet. So as a player I was thinking, man, this is a well-crafted campaign, and what I saw the hardcover version of Curse of the Crimson Thrones at Uncle's Game, I went, whoa, look at this beautiful book. Slobber, slobber, slobber. So hats off to Paizo. They didn't invent the adventure path, but Curse of the Crimson Thrones was inspiring, and because of these adventure paths, there are a lot of fans and a lot of players who like that format, and that's just it. The format doesn't even have to be played as is to be a bang for your buck useful. If you're a GM and you want to roll your own campaign that has a lot of city play, then Curse of the Crimson Throne is flat out inspiring and creative, and even if you don't use any of the plot. Heck, just the maps and rumor section make this a worthwhile campaign world building product. Which isn't to say that Griffon Games isn't going to indulge in creating standalone modules. While each book release on an AP format can technically stand on its own, there is a market for publishing unique one-off content. We just can't really do that right now. We have a very particular focus on this Kickstarter, and that's what we're doing, mainly because Christoph and I are a two-man band. Now, the second reason we're also agog here at Griffon Games over Pathfinder is the dance. Let's talk about the dance. Again, going back to AD&D, we have for spells and other things distances and inches indicating play on a battle mat or at least literally on a tabletop. But the system didn't quite explain how to accomplish this in a way that would stick with you, and rather than expanding on the mechanics, TSR abandoned it when they booted Gygax and came out with the second edition AD&D. Then came D&D 3.0. Therein you had a mini on a battle mat and you danced in and around the combatants while avoiding extra damage by not blundering about. There were templates for spell patterns, there was reach, there was flanking, there was difficult terrain, just the whole 9 yards. D&D 3.5 further refined this, and after 3.5, that refinement split into two ways. You had D&D 4e, and you had Pathfinder. D&D 4e was an unholy mess on the battle mat, where there was never a quick combat and sometimes the entire evening was spent in resolution of a single battle. A system designed to have players really think about their next move, but then pull the rug out from under them because the next move changed every time a different player executed their moves and actions. And it wasn't just the poor game mechanics, you had a cartoon version of archetypes codified into their MMO card-like system. A fighter just looked like a spellcaster with armor. Everyone was the same, which could have been an effective way to streamline the game if somehow 4E supported fantasy tropes instead of undermining them on the battle mat at every freaking turn. But I digress because, really, 4E was a digression. And then we have Pathfinder, or what my gaming group likes to call D&D 3.75. A great revision to the 3.5 rule set using the brilliant 3.5 open gaming license. Refinements to the cleric and other classes, in addition to core mechanics such as combat maneuvers, spell normalization, and feat overhaul, created one of the most miniature-friendly game systems in existence, fully implementing the miniature combat style in the AD&D book so long ago. And the best part about Pathfinder was it was so robust. The system as a whole created a very friendly GM product for rolling your own content. The core rulebook was everything a GM could ever want to create their own game world and run their own campaign, especially if they wanted to emphasize role-playing over combat-based encounters. Which leads us to the GMG. GM Math's goodness. Pathfinder gives you the math, and let me tell you that math is empowering, if you allow me to use a corporate weasel word in the rare instance that it's not weaselly. I've read GMs who bemoan the unromantic use of math in Pathfinder, and I say unto them, embrace the maths, for lo, they shall serve you, and you will be the master. Let me give you an example. In my Pathfinder rule-based campaign, using my own campaign setting designed by me because Pathfinder supports that, I have a combination of veteran RPG players and tactically astute players. To make things challenging, I need to run a challenging game, both in the role-playing sense and the encounter sense. So all my encounters are CR plus 4 encounters. Sometimes for the really big bad, they are CR plus 5 or higher. Think about that for a moment. Every encounter where a player is going to get XP, there is a chance I can kill one of the players, and if the party has bad dice rolls, and I have good dice rolls, a TPK. These are not resource draining encounters. These are hold on to your butts, we are all going to die encounters. This is a great customization that I can use as a GM built into the Pathfinder challenge rating system. Now, a player hasn't died permanently in this Pathfinder campaign yet, but they've had to make tactical withdrawals, and frequently someone drops below -0, putting the combat into nail-biting territory. And if not for the standard cleric with their channel energy ability, another mechanic built into the Pathfinder game system for the GM to take advantage of, they would all be dead, twice over. The math is for the GM toolbox, and that is everywhere in Pathfinder. There's a table for slow, medium, fast advancement, math for suggested character wealth, math for NPC wealth, math for ad hoc challenge rating adjustments, math for magical item power progression, math for the average saving throws, math for difficulty challenges, math for combat maneuvers. Now, criticism Pathfinder is too much of the maths. Pathfinder is based on D&D 3.5, which in turn is based on D&D 2nd edition, which has substantial roots in AD&D. And I've played a lot of AD&D, and AD&D was all about the maths, except in a less refined way. Too much emphasis on mechanics and not enough on role-playing is a valid criticism on players and game masters. Could the Pathfinder core rulebook have additional guidance for more advanced role-playing? Sure. Paizo did come out with a compatibility program, which Griffon Lore Games supports to the hilt, by the way, which takes the 3.5 OGL and encourages third parties to support Pathfinder. There are many adventures and supplements that are role-playing intensive. And there, my friends, is my love of the maths. Pathfinder provides a solid foundation in the core rulebook for everything players and GMs need to run a great role-playing adventure path, which is why we are enthusiastically supporting it. The system provides rock-solid support for everything hard fantasy, and here at Griffon Lore Games, we are all about the hard fantasy. And with that, I will leave you all with a shameless plug for our Kickstarter. Check out the link in the summary bar or head to our website at griffonloregames.com. Our next video will be all about what makes D&D 5e so good. Laters!